what I'm going to do here is I'm going to talk to you about an additional tool that has been added to Family Tree DNA, but I'm just going to take this opportunity to do a little bit of review of the trees that are there at the moment and how we use them. And this will just explain to you why we are and how this tool is going to be used more effectively. So just as so as you remember, and I think most of you do already know this, is there is two different ways to view a tree on Family Tree DNA. You've got the family view, which I have shown you up here, and that shows brothers and sisters and cousins and whatever. You've also got the pedigree view down here. And this pedigree view allows you to see the common ancestors in your tree, or if you look at somebody else's tree, you're able to see the pedigree view of their tree. So that's probably the most useful view to look at if you're looking at one of your matches, because it allows you to see all the surnames and their ancestry that could potentially connect to your family. If you want to switch between these views, this is where you do it here. At the top of your tree, you will see family view and pedigree view, and you can click between these in order to get these little views. The other thing I want to remind you about is these little tree symbols. So if you're on the family view, you can click on these little tree symbols, and what it does, it allows you to see the additional people that the tree has basically tidied up, and it allows you to open up additional branches that would be coming down here. So the tree will tidy itself up, and you can open these branches by clicking on these little tree symbols. So you will see James McDowell's tree if you click there. So you'll see his children and his grandchildren. You're already seeing his parents, and you're seeing his brothers and sisters, but you're not seeing his children. If you click on somebody at the top of the tree, then that's indicative of his ancestors further back. And then that would open up their other children and probably their father and mother and potentially brothers and sisters as well. So you'll see what's on the tree if you open it up at those particular points. If you get lost and you want to get back to the original view, you can reset tree view. Now, it's not highlighted here at the moment because I'm on the original view, but that's where you would click to get back to the original tree view. A really good way of using these little tree symbols is on the pedigree tree. And what you can do is you can click on any of these little symbols that are shown on any individual. And what that allows you to do is to bring that person back to be the home person. So I use that all the time because there's no point in really just exploring one line. And you've got a little arrow there you can click on to just see that one branch if you want to go further back. But what I normally do is if I'm looking at somebody else's tree, I want to see a whole section at one time. And I can do that by maybe clicking on somebody's mother or father or grandparent. And that allows me to bring that grandparent potentially back to there. And then I would see 2 generations further back on their tree. So it allows you to see a big section of the tree very easily and effectively. The other thing you can do too is you can click this little show details button. If you click on that, it then gives you a little bit more information. And what it does, for example, is I have just done a little screenshot of what the tree would look like if you put on this show details. And down at the bottom of the tree here, you will see that I have got down William Spence Clark and Mary Ann Melville. All you're seeing at the moment is you're seeing their birth year and their death year. Now, when I put on that show details, I'm getting specific dates. And I'm also getting the start of the place where they lived as well. So that just gives me little information that I can see there without having to click or hover over anyone. But if I do hover over the match, I will be able to see all of the information that has been input. But I just find it's very easy to turn on that little toggle and just to get an indication of just where they live, so as I know, and it's helping to direct me towards where I'm going to hover and where I'm going to look when I'm looking at somebody else's tree. So that'll just give you a little bit of an overview of how you can use the trees at the moment. Now, also, you can search within a tree, and this is something that people don't seem to really realize. At the very top right of each tree, now this is either your tree or your match's tree. It's probably more useful in your matches tree. So when you find someone on your matches page and you open up their tree, you can go in and search for a person or location. This is very important. So you're able to go in there to put in a place or a surname, and you're able to then find anyone in that tree that comes up with that search. So that's a very useful way, particularly if someone's uploaded a gedcom, it's a very big tree, and you want to see a connection within that, you can then put in a name or a place, and this will come out for you. Now, in order for this to work on your tree, you have to have entered this information, because otherwise it's not going to be searchable when other people look at your tree. So if you want to make the best of your opportunity to find a match, then you have to allow your matches to find out this information on your ancestors. So I would encourage you all to review your trees and make sure that you have in the right information that is going to come up on searches. So you're going to have to put in names, and you're going to have to make people visible. But as well as that, you're going to have to put in places. Now, if somebody is looking for one of my ancestors, and I have just put in Belfast, then it's only going to come up if they search Belfast. But the person may not know that the common ancestor came from Belfast, so they may be searching for Ireland or Northern Ireland. So therefore, if I put in Ireland in my place of birth or place of death, then if they do a search for Ireland, it will come up. And that's why it is always better to put in something specific as well as something that is maybe slightly further out, like a country or a region. And that does help you to get matches when other people are searching your tree. And that could just lead to them identifying a connection with you that they will then email you about, and they will then do all that hard work for you. But if you just put in very minimal information, this isn't going to work for you. So definitely do review your tree and see if there's anything additional you can add to this. Now, I've got a little picture here of a tree that just shows private, 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 private. And I'm sure we've all found those. There's a lot of those about. And the reason there is that, well, there's two reasons why that could happen. The first reason could be that all of these people are still alive, because the whole idea of this is that if somebody is alive, their information will be protected and kept private, and therefore matches are not able to view this. So that is the way it's supposed to work. But the problem with this is that people just go in and just add in names. They don't put in birth dates. They don't put in death dates, and they don't mark people as deceased. And if you just do a very quick and dirty tree, that's what happens. The tree isn't obvious to anybody else. Nobody can actually view it, and you've really wasted your time. So what you want to do is add in a tree where the information that you want to be shared is actually shared with your matches. And you do that by either entering in a date of death or clicking on this little deceased button whenever you're updating a particular profile. Now, if you have somebody who is not showing on the tree that is still showing as alive, they will have a little eye symbol up at the top of their tree here. Now, it won't be apparent on your matches tree, it will only be apparent on your tree. And what it's doing is it's alerting you to the fact that nobody else can see this particular person. Now, there may be good reasons for that, but what I would do is I would encourage you to review your tree, go back to your second, 3 times, 4 times great grandparents, and make sure there's no little eye symbols appearing. Because if you have just put in the name of that person and no death date, or you haven't clicked this deceased button, it means that that information is showing as private when other people view your tree. And it means that you could be potentially missing out on finding out how you're connecting to somebody, because your matches cannot see that person on your tree. Okay, moving on to what the new feature actually is now. It is a facility for importing your ancestral surnames. And I'm going to explain to you what this is. Now, at the top of your tree, you have got a button for tree management. And this allows you then to see a summary of your tree. I went in to do this for my tree, and it's telling me now a little summary. It's telling me I have 525 people on my tree, and 71 people have been linked to my tree. So that is 71 people that I have proved my DNA connection to. And this is listing them all for me. So I can just see all 71 people. It shows me the actual confirmed relationship. And you can link anyone to your tree who is out as far as fifth cousin once removed. And what this does is generates the paternal and the maternal symbols in the shared matches. So the people who match on the same segments of DNA, they will be attributed a paternal or a maternal symbol. So it's very useful to link all of these people to your tree. Now, when you go down beneath that, you can then see this little, it's a little additional feature that has been added, import to ancestral surnames. So it says import the direct maternal and direct paternal surnames in your tree to the ancestral surnames page. And what this is allowing you to do is if you've just uploaded a gedcom, or even if you've built a tree, then what this allows you to do is this allows you to update the ancestral surname field. And this makes things quicker for you, and it makes sure that additional information is there for you. Now, we're going to look at why you would want to do this and what ancestral surnames are. But basically what it's allowing you to do is there is a search button on your matches page. And what this is allowing you to do is it will only come up with the names of ancestors that have been input into the ancestral surnames field. So if you're looking for someone who has got Mulligan ancestors, you would then type in the word Mulligan on your match page. And if somebody has entered in that name or a similar name, it could be Milligan, then that will appear in your result list, and those people will be generated. That match list will be generated because of the fact that they have added that name as one of their ancestral surnames. So putting on a tree is really useful and it helps your matches. But if you've got 8,000 or 9,000 matches, as I have, and you're looking through them all, then you want to be able to find the surnames in somebody's tree in an easy and effective way. You can't go through all 8,000 or 9,000 trees because that's just not what people do. And I'm sure you don't do that either. So you want to make sure that all of the surnames that are direct ancestors of the tester, they should be put in as ancestral surnames. So when you click on this little button, import, it opens up a little window for you. Now, when I did this, I had already input a tree. So it had noticed that I had already added my ancestral surnames. So what it said to me was, you already have names in your genealogy surnames list. Do you want to replace the existing list or add the imported names to it? So that allows me to replace what I already have by the new names generated by this, or add to what I already have there. Now you get a slightly different message if you're doing this for the first time. So if you haven't added your ancestral surnames and you have just uploaded a gedcom for the first time, you would then just put add. It wouldn't be saying add to existing list. Now at that stage, I cancelled out. But if I had wanted to do this as an experiment, I would have said add to existing list and then import. And that's how you would do this. But once you do it, I would always check to see what has been added, because what it will do is it will take the names from your tree. It will only take the names of your direct ancestors. That's really the only names that you want to be put in this ancestral surnames field. And I would always review them just to make sure that they have the right names in. And maybe what you want to do is refine the places that these people came from, because that might not be apparent on in the birth or death parts of your tree that the system would be using to put this in to your ancestral surnames. So you want a place in there and you want that to be understandable. So if you're going to use this new tool, do go in and see what effect it has. And if you have already got names in there, don't replace them. I would just add to them and then go in and delete any duplicates and add locations as you need to. So what you do is, if you want to find where your ancestral surnames are, you hover over your name at the top right of your homepage. And when you do that within your account, it will come up with the option of account settings. And you then click on account settings, and a few tabs are going to come over the top of the page. One of them says genealogy. You click on genealogy, and under that you have two options, and one of them is surnames. So I'm just assuming you've done this, and this is what it looks like. So that's the little tabs you would click on. You'd click on this tab for genealogy, and then the one for surnames. So this is where you get your list of surnames, and you can just add an additional name there or a location. If you find that something has been imported and it's already on your list, then just delete. So you can just click on this little bin symbol and that will delete it for you. If you click on the little pencil symbol, it will then open up this line and allow you to correct the spelling of a name or to amend the actual location if you want to do that. I would really recommend that you don't put in alternative spellings, because there is a Soundex facility built into Family Tree DNA, and it will come up with alternatives anyhow. So as I used the example earlier of Milligan, then if you had a Milliken with a K, then it would still come up for you. So you don't need to put in alternative spellings. All you need to do is just put in the name as it's most commonly spelt within your family. If you find that sort of Brown is there and Brown with an E is also there, I would just delete one of them and just leave one of them there. So do try to put a single location in, and the location you should be putting in is the location that each surname was found in your family the furthest back that you know, because that is the furthest back that your research has enabled you to get. And that's most likely to be the one that's in common with your matches. So that's what I would put in there. Then if people want to know more about that particular family, they can look at your tree. So definitely do. If you're importing those names, do go in and amend them on that list. Okay, so just going to explain to you now why you would add the ancestral surnames. Well, as I said earlier, they're searchable by your matches. So if you're looking at your match list, and this is a little example of what you would get on your match list, underneath the name of the match, you would have a list of their ancestral surnames. If you want to see all of them, you just click on the View Details button. That allows you to see all of those names. But what it does for you is it allows you to see names that match you or match a very similar name to a name that you have entered. They will appear in bold for you. So you can see then, just in some of these aren't actually in bold. So what it's doing is highlighting those names to me and saying those names appear in the ancestral surnames of your match. They also appear very close to names that you have entered as ancestral surnames. So whenever you click on this View Details button, you get two different lists. And this is what you get. The first list you get is matched surnames. So it will come across with a little list, and it will give you the surnames that it thinks are very similar to your names and the locations of where those families came from. Now, when you click on View Details, this first one may be blank because you may not have any surnames that have been entered by the other person and entered by you. So there may not be any names. So don't forget that you've got a second one. And this one is all the surnames that your match has added. So these are the additional ones that do not match you. And there's no overlap between these. Oh, sorry, there is actually an overlap between them, because you can see there that Hamilton has appeared on both lists. So this is all surnames. It's not the non-matching one. It's actually all of the surnames that person has added. So that is another way of looking at them. So just don't forget, if you go into view details and this first tab is blank, don't forget to click on that all surnames tab, and you'll be able to see all the surnames listed for the person, and you'll also see the locations there as well. So that is a very useful way of making the system work for you, because we're all doing this to try to find matches. So what you're trying to do is enter the information that is going to help you find a match. So by putting on an effective tree, by adding in your ancestral surnames, you are giving yourself the best chance of this all working for you, because that's why we're paying for a DNA test. That's why we're testing in the first place, is to find matches and prove matches. So hopefully that has helped you to realize why we would be doing that. Thanks for listening.